Yo, what's going on, guys? So for this league start, I plan to farm pretty much just simulacrums, but recently I actually swapped to farming logbooks, because the way I like to farm simulacrums is I like to farm like 20 of them in a row, and to be able to afford it, I decided to farm some logbooks, so I can just have some extra currency, so I don't have to trade every 5 simulacrums. I can just grind a lot of logbooks and then buy like 20 of them, and I'm gonna just grind whole day. And the logbooks, the best thing about them is that you don't need to do that much trading after them, because most of the stuff you're gonna get is from haggling with Tujen, and this is gonna be straight up just currency. So after you're done with a session, you just sell some currency and that's it, which takes like 5 to 10 minutes. So it is very fast way to just make currency. And I did test it on stream, and I was making around 3 to 4 divines per hour at the beginning, but then I started to do it a bit more efficiently. So I think right now it might be 4, maybe even 5 divines per hour. So in today's video, I want to bring you like a short guide for how to farm logbooks. So it's not gonna be like super in detail how to do them. It's just gonna be a guide for someone that wants to try out logbooks and has never done them. So I'm just gonna give you all of the basics. So the first thing I want to talk about is how to get the logbooks. So what you want to do is you want to go to the TFT Discord, and here you can buy them in bulk for anywhere between 40 and 50 chaos. And in this video I want to focus mostly on Black Scythe, because they are, to be honest, the simplest one to understand, because you're just gonna haggle with Tujen, so you don't need that much knowledge in how to use the other traders. And the way you want to roll them is, first of all, you want to always obviously go for the Black Scythe. So for example, here, this is obvious, you just go for the Utsal outskirt zone. You don't go for the Karoi Warpgrace because you want to go for the Black Scythe. But what happens when you have 2 zones? So in case you don't know, when you put the logbook in here, you can choose between one of these zones. So you can do just one of them. So in this case, you have Forest Ruins and Shipwreck Reef. So what you care about is, most importantly, you never want to go to the Sarn Slums or Rotting Temple if you have option to not to go there. So these are basically the 2 most important layouts you don't want to go for. Also, Mountainside is pretty bad. I would pretty much avoid these 3. Everything else is good. In terms of the best layouts, and my favorite ones are Forest Ruins, Val Temple, and Shipwreck Reef, and yeah, I think these are my favorite ones. So in this case scenario, I actually would prefer Forest Ruins. So first thing, you always want to look at the layout. Second thing is rewards. I mean the implicit, so the paths don't matter as much, but you actually can roll them with the Bless Orbs. So this one has between 10 and 40% quantity of artifacts when you look at the Forest Ruins, and it's already pretty well rolled, 34%, so I'm not gonna use Bless Orb right now. But basically, rule of thumb is just you want to go for above half of the roll most of the time. So you just roll it until you reach that with the Bless Orbs. And like I said, you don't really care that much about the type of rolls. The most important thing is a layout. But if 2 layouts are just similar to each other, just choose whatever you feel like. Next thing is you always want to alchemy them. And obviously you check for the rolls. I cannot regen life and mana. Well, I probably could, I just don't really like to, and I also avoid minus max rest. Everything else for me is fine. And I also do them at least item level 81, because that gives you the most amount of rewards. And if you would ask me, can you do them lower level? You probably can, but someone today on stream told me that he did buy some of the lower level ones for like 20 chaos, and he actually had pretty bad returns. And I personally never tested low level ones, so I can't really tell you if it's worth it or not. Okay, so now that we rolled it, let's go for the example. So again, Forest Ruin. I'm just gonna go here. And in case you don't know, the way Expedition works, and logbooks work the same as Expedition, you want to put the remnants, you want to detonate the remnants, and they're gonna give you additional rewards. And the way it works is that it only is going to affect the rewards from that point on. So for example, if I, let's say, I avoid this remnant, I'm gonna go for these chests, which these markers give you chests for some additional rewards. And then you go for these skull markers, which are monster rewards. So this is different type of rewards. Then I go for the remnant. So this one, these monsters are not gonna drop the additional gem. But if I start with the remnant and then I go for the skulls, this is going to give you the rewards. So because of that, you always want to start with the best remnants and then you focus on the chests or the monsters. And generally, most of the time, you're gonna just focus on the monsters and the artifact rewards. And in case you don't know, these chests, these markers are artifact rewards. The way I like to do them is, first of all, I just search for the runic monsters have a increased quantity of artifacts drop. So this is the most important remnant. So this one I just found it in here, and you can go through the entire logbook and just plan your path. Let's say here you're gonna look if you see any like a decent remnants. If you don't, maybe you go to the top and so on. But it also takes additional time. So most of the time, what I'm actually gonna do is if I find already one decent remnant, I just start making my path. I don't really go further. Also, if your build is not that great at clearing logbooks, what you can do is if you can focus just simply on chests. Don't go for that many monsters, just detonate as many chests as possible, and it should still be decently profitable. So here, like I said, I'm just gonna go for the artifacts rewards. So this one, I'm just probably not gonna make a perfect pathway because, like I said, I want to make this video pretty fast. So I'm just gonna make like a decent one. Here you can see this is the underground zone. This is gonna just contain additional chests. And also first, the most important thing you want to look at the map is the big skull. If you see a big skull somewhere on the map, that means that map contains a boss. And that basically means you can get a lot of rewards from it. And you always want to detonate the boss first, because if you are going to detonate the remnants are also gonna affect the boss, so you don't want to make him too hard. But if you get any remnants that give quantity of artifacts dropped by monster, this is going to increase the artifacts that he's going to drop, and he drops a lot of them. So if you get any of those remnants, you want to detonate them before the boss. If you don't get them, just go for the boss first to make him pretty easy.
I'm not up to that
Also,
just
obviously, you don't want to go for the remnants that are pretty bad for your build. So, for example, immune to chaos damage, I can't do on this build. And in case you're wondering which builds are very good at clearing logbooks, most people would say the builds that deal chaos damage over time are probably going to be the best. So things like Caustic Arrow, Toxic Rain, Poisonous Concoction, the Blade Vortex with Poison. And these are very good because the monsters in logbooks, very often they have things like Ward, block, chance to avoid damage from hits, and things like that. So you don't really want to you will have issues with these type of modifiers if you are some kind of hit-based build. And from what I've heard, the best build, the absolutely best build from what people have told me for logbook is Death's Oath. I've never tried it, but I've heard this is very good build. So at the end, once you are done with setting up your remnants, you want to look if you, for maybe by accident, did hit something bad. And also, you might notice that I try to not stack too many damage reduction modifiers. So for example, chance to avoid damage from hits doesn't do anything for me because I'm Toxic Rain, I deal damage over time. But at the bottom, monsters have 30% to all resistances, which also includes Chaos Res. So this is actually pretty bad. But if they have one of them, it's just 30%, so I don't care about that. But somewhere in here, where was it? Let me find it. Here, there is also a remnant that gives the same thing, and I actually did try to avoid it. So you can see I am not hitting it. That's because I try to not stack too many, especially of the same remnants, just to have an easier encounter. If monsters would have 60% of all resistances, that would be absolutely terrible. So try to not stack too many of them. And it's the same for damage ones. If you give monsters too much damage, you're also gonna have harder time. And now obviously I just trigger it and I kill all of the monsters one by one, and you loot all of the loot. And like I said, I probably didn't make this the best pathway because I tried to make this as fast as possible, and Also, I was talking at the same time. But you have to remember, time is money. Sometimes you might try to like try to figure out like absolutely the best pathing possible, or we're gonna maybe miss one monster in here or one chest in here if you're gonna do the other way. But don't worry about that. Try to go for as many rewards as try to go for as many rewards as possible, but also do it as fast as possible. It is just a fine balance trying to find between time and profit. So here is the underground zone. This one you just clear a wave of monster and you're gonna get additional rewards. And most important reward, like I said earlier, is the artifacts. And also the artifact rewards also give you the exotic coinages, so real currency, so things like this. And these go for around 5 to 6 chaos right now. So they are worth a lot of money, but we are also gonna be using them for haggling with Tujen later. Okay, so I skipped the rest of the logbook because, like I said, I want to make this video shorter and there was nothing really happening in there. But here you can see all of the loot. And I would say this is the average outcome for coinages. It's around 20 chaos and you can see a lot of other loot. So to sum things up, how to just run the logbooks. First thing is you want to always search for the boss. And if there is a boss, go for the remnants that give increased quantity of artifacts dropped by monsters, most importantly by monsters, not by chest, because the chest, obviously, boss is not a chest. Then you want to go for the boss. If there is none of these remnants, just start with the boss first, because you want to make him easier. Then you just go for, if there is no boss, you just go for the quantity of artifacts dropped by monsters. For me personally, second priority is quantity of artifacts dropped by chests, and then literally whatever else you can find. Things like stack decks dropped by monsters or chests, currency, fossils, maybe scarabs, things like that. So now to increase the profit you're gonna get from these logbooks, you don't want to just sell the coinages, you actually want to use them to haggle with Tujen. So to do that, you're gonna go to him and you're gonna start buying currency. And the way I like to do it is I like to keep an eye on the amount of lesser, greater, grand, and exceptional artifacts I have, because usually you're gonna run out of the greater the first, and you don't want to reroll just to buy stuff with other currency. You always want to make sure you can buy something with every currency. So you want to keep an eye out on that. And usually you pretty much never run out of lesser, never run out of exceptional. Most of the time you run out of greater, sometimes grand. Because of that, when I find something for lesser, I pretty much just buy it for full price, because it is gonna save you some clicks. You're not gonna have to like haggle with him. For lesser, I literally just click and I buy most of the things for lesser. For greater, I try to haggle with him a bit, and usually what I do is I move my mouse somewhere above the half, because this way you're gonna most of the time just have to do one click. He's just gonna accept the offer. So let's see in here, and he did accepted it. Obviously you can haggle a little bit, goes let's say like here, then here, maybe this way you're gonna pay less, but it's gonna take you more time. And like I said, with the logbooks, when you're in there, you don't want to spend too much time thinking about the remnants, and this is the same thing here. Time is money, that's the most important thing. Maybe you're gonna get more profit out of your artifacts if you try to haggle a bit, but this way it's gonna be way faster, so I like to do it this way. So like I said, what I would do is I would spend most of my lesser without even haggling. Greater I'm gonna haggle a bit, and grand I'm gonna haggle a bit, and also I'm not gonna buy as many things with greater ones. So here, for example, I'm not gonna buy these whetstones. And speaking of whetstones, the first time when you're gonna do this, you're not really gonna know which things to buy. So it's very important to go to the trade and look at the currencies and actually make sure you know how much each currency is worth. Because, for example, obviously everyone knows that chaos is pretty good reward. Alchemies are decent. Something like the blacksmith whetstone is whatever, you probably wouldn't want to buy it. But if you actually look closely at the rewards, something like alchemy orb is worth like 8 alchemy to 1 chaos, even maybe 9. But if you look at blacksmith whetstone right now with current economy, they are pretty much 11, 10, so they are not even that much cheaper than alchemy. So it's actually a very nice reward right now. And you might actually not even know that Glassblower Bubble are actually very, very good currency right now. Probably one of the most expensive currencies. And maybe you don't know how much is augmentation and you check it and it's actually 20. So this one, I probably wouldn't buy it ever because it's too cheap. But things like Chance Orbs, let's see how much I weigh. 12 to 1 chaos, which is still good. If you see like a big stack of chance orbs, you can still buy them. Chisels, normally chisels are actually pretty cheap, but this time around they're actually pretty expensive, 4 to 1 chaos, so I would actually buy them. So like I said, make sure to check which currencies are actually worth a lot, but with greater, don't spend as many of them. So here I'm not gonna buy chance orbs, I'm not gonna buy whetstones, and then you just reroll and buy more stuff. Here I'm not getting super lucky. From time to time you are gonna be able to buy things like divine orbs and so on. And yesterday I actually did buy one of them. So that's basically it. You just continue, and when you're gonna look at your profit, you're definitely gonna make money this way. So it's always worth it to spend your coinages. And I actually have even more coinages that I need. Yesterday I found like 200, and I did spend all of my artifacts, and I was left with like 100 left. So we definitely still are going to be able to sell some of them. Maybe not always, it depends how many things you buy. If you want to spend more coinages, obviously buy less stuff. If you don't want to spend as many of them, you want to spend more artifacts, start buying more stuff. That's basically it. But I personally buy enough stuff that I can sustain them.